Hello and welcome to the high school career fairs. So today we're going to be looking at career paths in cognitive psychology and neuroscience by Sadie Davis. So let's go ahead and get a roll on. So starting off with skills and knowledge needed for this career path. This is a pretty broad career path that does take quite a bit of schooling. So you're going to want things like critical thinking skills. You're going to want to have analytical and research abilities. You want to be able to conduct research. You want to be able to analyze it and really look deeply into what you're seeing. You're going to need empathy for others as well. I think this is a pretty big one because when you're working with people face to face like that, whether you're a neurologist and you're diagnosing something that's in their brain, or you're working clinically with people, it's just important to not only understand them but also have empathy for them. And then also I would say data analysis is a pretty big one as well because again, this is all in the numbers, all in the research, so that's a critical point. Moving forward, let's compare. What is the difference between cognitive psychology and neuroscience? Well, these two are closely related, but they focus on different levels of understanding. Cognitive psychology is going to be the behavior. It looks at mental processes like memory, attention, problem solving, essentially how our mind works. Now, when we compare this to neuroscience over here, this is going to be the biological ends of things. This is rooted in biological basis, which is going to study things like our neurons. It's going to be the structures of our body and our brain, and it's going to be the chemical activity that's going on within all of that. So in short, cognitive psychology explains the what of thinking and behavior, while neuroscience would explain the how in terms of how our body and our brain can make all these things happen. How does your brain make you think compared to why are you thinking that way? Kind of on that basis of it. So moving forward, on this slide, we're looking at two different careers, looking at then and now. So first, we've got behavior analysis. So these are going to be people who are trained in ABA therapy, which is applied behavioral analysis therapy, which is mainly going to support individuals who have an autism spectrum disorder. They design and assess treatment plans to improve important behaviors and motor skills. So looking back, this work stems from B.F. Skinner in the early 1900s, and he was someone who emphasized observable behaviors compared to actual what's going on in your mind. It was kind of just a new thing that had never been really looked at before. And then moving forward to the 1960s, we'll see how ABA became widely used, especially in autism treatment. They were finally starting to narrow it down, which also made it a lot easier to diagnose ASD. And then current day, it's used globally with individualized treatment plans, and it's just a great way for kids with autism or adults with autism to not only help manage their challenging behaviors, but they also are able to really dial in and help them function better in a neurotypical society. Now going on to a neurologist, so this is going to be a medical doctor who diagnose and treat brain or spinal cord disorders. Their history goes all the way back to the 18th century with someone named Jean Charcot, who was really trying to differentiate between hysteria and an actual disease. And then moving forward, we see different technologies emerging all the way today where we have all sorts of technologies that help us out. Things like MRI, fMRI, PET scans, which all allow us to see brain structures in real time and their activity. And then moving on to this next slide about research, this shows us how research is really the foundation of both fields. It helps us explain complex processes like memory, language, problem solving. It also expands our theoretical knowledge, and it's essential for human understanding of both our behavior and also the brain itself. Research is what allows us to get real life data and drive that into going forward. It's going to help with future treatment plans. It's just going to help us understand people better in general. And overall, it is what allows us to move from theory to practice, turning ideas about the mind and ideas about our brain into measurable knowledge, which is what psychology and neurology is all about. Now, moving on to our final slide today, we've got this, which just kind of shows us our common research methods. We've got neuroimaging, things like mentioned earlier, MRIs, EEG. These just show where the brain is active, and it shows that real life imaging and activity. We've got different experiments, cause and effect relationships, controlled studies, case studies, which will follow someone lifelong. That's a lot more in depth. And observational studies, which are going to track that natural real world behavior, which is really valuable. But essentially, research allows for theoretical understanding and practicing actual interventions into people's problems, into their diagnoses, all the things. It's a great way to really dive in there and apply knowledge to the field. So that was my little presentation on our cognitive psychology and neuroscience. Thanks for watching. Here's the references. Have a great day.